Okay, everybody, I think we're live. Hello, welcome back to Walks on Wall Street. It is Saturday night, live here in Midtown Manhattan, to be exact. It is Saturday, March 18th, 2022. It is a pretty brisk and chilly night here in New York. It's about 42 degrees Fahrenheit. It's about 8:59 p.m. in Midtown, so it's a little bit chilly. Pretty stark contrast between last night. Last night it was actually in the 60s, or maybe like 55. It felt like 60. It was pretty nice. But guys, welcome back. So Saturday, for those of you who don't know, okay, Saturday is pretty much our day off. So we're going to have a nice walk around the city. We're going to have a nice chat. But obviously Monday through Friday is when we have our live streams where we discuss the financial markets. Now, tomorrow is Sunday. So for those of you again who don't know, that will be our markets to look ahead, or our markets outlook live stream, where we cover day by day, Monday through Friday, the major events, big breaking headlines that are going to be happening on the week ahead on Wall Street. So we'll do that. It's going to be a busy week. I mean, my God, we are going to have the FOMC meeting. We are going to hear from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. We're going to see if they're going to raise rates. Are they going to cut, or are they going to pause? Stay tuned. We'll find out next week. But tonight, everybody, we are on the corner of 6th Avenue and Central Park South. Okay, if you actually look directly ahead of you, this is my old building. I actually used to live here. Let me pick up the camera so I can show you guys. This particular building is 106 Central Park South. It is located conveniently right next to Billionaires Row, and literally right behind my old building is the Steinway building. And one building to the right, you could just barely see it right here, is 157. And then as you make your way down Billionaires Row, you have Central Park Tower and 220 Central Park South. So we'll get started. I'm going to say hello to everybody in the chat. But what I want to do tonight, everybody, we are going to make our way downtown again to Greenwich Village and the West Village. But I also want to take you guys for a little walk through Central Park. I want to show you an exact location, okay? So let's say if you're a tourist, or maybe you're a New Yorker and you're not too familiar with Central Park, this is one of my favorite locations, okay? And it's not too hard to get to. It's not like we're going to go deep into the park and you guys have to freak out because it's almost 10 o'clock at night. It's very close, okay? But the views are absolutely gorgeous. So for anybody looking to move to New York in this particular area, Central Park South, I want to take you guys to a location that is not going to disappoint. I see Sabrina Fair is here. Welcome. Iris Liu, Jonathan, Gary Carpenter, Beacon, New York. Riley, Steph UH, welcome. Julia M. Adrian is here. SME Media, happy Saturday to you. Hopefully you had a good St. Patrick's Day. Justin S. is joining us in the house. I see Paul. Welcome, Paul. Hey, Stephanie's here. Stephanie, good to see you. Hopefully you had a good weekend. Thanks for joining us. Sandra, Carol S., British Gray, and Dan Zhang. Good to see everybody. All right, let me put away my laptop, and we will get the live stream started. Once again, I hope everybody had a really good start to the weekend. I know I did. I actually took some time off. I got a chance to sleep in a little bit after the crazy events we've been going through last week. And I sort of spent the day reading, kind of hanging out. So hopefully you guys had a much needed break yourselves. Big task at hand. Good to see you. This is testing. Welcome, Ron. Now, before I was streaming, I was actually at an event, which was amazing, by the way. And they had on in the background the NCAA, the basketball tournament. And I'm not really a big basketball guy. I think you guys know that. But I think it was the Kansas Jayhawks and somebody else. I forget who it was. Arkansas was playing. That was one of the most exciting basketball games I've ever seen in my life. Did anybody else watch that? I think it just literally just ended maybe like 30 to 40 minutes ago. But they won by 1 point. And I think Kansas, again, I don't really know anything about basketball, so if I misspeak, please forgive me. But Kansas, I think, was the number 1 seed, and Arkansas was the number 8. So it was a big upset. was an awesome game. Curious to see if anybody else got to see that game tonight. We are now outside of the Park Lane Hotel here at Central Park South. Another gorgeous hotel. They actually gut renovated. Gold and silver. Precious metals really across the board have had a fantastic week. So, Beacon, New York, good to see you. Lena Sandoval is here. Welcome. Gary Carpenter. So we're going to head past the Plaza Hotel. This is one of the most, I would say, famous hotels in New York City. One of my personal favorites, if that. And then we're going to make a left and actually go inside Central Park. Austin City Limits, says this new time has confused me. Yeah, we've been a little bit late, haven't we? We've been a little bit late. But not to worry, not to worry. Oh, hold on, let me show you guys this. So this is one of the many lakes / reservoirs inside Central Park. Harry Connor says Kansas was going for a repeat. Yeah, they were. So they won the entire thing last year, didn't they? So a huge upset, I'm assuming. Jonas B says, good evening, everybody. Welcome, Jonas. Thank you so much for being here. Dan Zhang says, hey, Tom, how was your day? Today was good, man. I mean, I finally got a chance to relax after, the crazy week we had. I'm sure everybody had a crazy week, especially if you work in finance or tech, pretty much anything. Look at these people. Maybe this is some sort of a tourist group here walking outside of the Plaza Hotel. Now, if you notice the first entrance here, this is actually the residences. So in theory, you could either rent or purchase an apartment in the Plaza Hotel. And I think you get access to all of the different amenities, including the hotel restaurant, which is really nice. Hey, Kevin Moore says, hey, Tom, happy Saturday. So far, 74 U.S. banks and 1,400 banks worldwide have failed. More will fail this week. The stock market will implode next. What are your thoughts? So my thoughts are that, I believe in the cockroach theory. Real quick. So once again, this is the residences. Okay, so if you purchase a unit in the Plaza Hotel, you obviously don't go into the main entrance. You have your private side entrance. You could actually see two individuals coming out here. They probably have a really nice place in the Plaza Hotel. But as you walk around the perimeter of the hotel, this is the main entrance for the guests that are just staying here temporarily. But once again, gorgeous, gorgeous building, a staple and an icon right here on Central Park South. But I believe in the cockroach theory, and we talked about this over the past couple live streams. And again, just really quickly, I'll explain it. The cockroach theory, if you're taking your kids or something to, look at a college apartment, right? And you see a cockroach crawl out from under the refrigerator, the cabinets or something like that. You could best believe it's not just one cockroach. There's probably 20 more under the sink, right? Under the kitchen counter. So I think we're gonna see the same exact thing with a lot of these banks, right? So it started off, right, with Silvergate. That was the first bank to fall. This is 432 Park Avenue right here. Gorgeous building on New York City's Billionaires Row. So we started off with Silvergate, right? Then, the Signature Bank got in a little bit of hot water, but that actually faltered after Silicon Valley Bank. So we've now had about 3 banks who've officially, are, I guess, quote unquote toast. But, in addition to that, a lot of the other regional banks are under a lot of stress here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some turmoil there. I think if we want to talk about big banks, the only other one that is, in my view, susceptible to, further collapse if it wasn't for the Swiss government getting involved is obviously Credit Suisse. So we'll see. This really reminds me, and this is another really nice hotel, by the way, and residences. It's called the Sherry Netherland. This is actually where Jesse Livermore, unfortunately, passed away right here. Jesse Livermore is a very famous proprietary trader. If you've ever read the Reminiscences of a Stock Operator book, that book is based on his life. He was called the Boy Plunger back in the day. But, you know, I think we need to remember what happened with Bear Stearns, right? Bear Stearns came out and assured, well, I should say the CEO of Bear Stearns came out and assured everybody that everything's going to be okay, right? There's going to be no contagion. There's going to be no, liquidity issues at the bank. And then fast forward 2 days later, well, guess what? JP Morgan is buying the bank for $2 a share. Now, on that news, the markets actually rallied, if you guys remember this. This was back in 2008. Markets actually rallied hard on that news, about 4.5%. But fast forward a year, guess where the S&P 500 was? It was about 43% lower. So we'll see. I mean, the S&P 500, was actually rallying throughout the entire week last week. But, we really paired those losses on Friday, and now we are back trading below the 200-day moving average. Hey, TC is here, says good evening, Tom and all. Welcome, TC. Will M says, I thought you were in that neighborhood. Copy that, Will M. Good to see you. Wayne McKay says Financial Times is reporting that UBS Group could complete a takeover of Credit Suisse. Yeah, I heard that as well. I got some notifications on my phone. We'll see. There were also some rumblings that BlackRock may get involved in there, but I just really don't know. I think we're going to find out more on Monday. But guys, we are actually going to be wandering into Central Park. We're not going to go too far into the park, but I really want to show you guys a very, very interesting and very beautiful spot in the park where you're going to be able to see an amazing view of all of the major buildings in Billionaires Row. And the park is kind of nice, especially at night. Everything is lit up. Not a lot of people. All the tourists really empty out of the park right around sunset, right around dusk. War Walker, good to see you. Welcome. Dan Zhang says, Tom, I just finished watching the documentary I sent you today. Oh, yeah, Dan, I bookmarked that. So I bookmarked that documentary. You know what, Dan, if you want to, drop it in the chat. I think everybody else, watching the stream would be interested in that. But I guess it's a documentary series on easy money policy. So I'll have that bookmarked. Maybe when I'm finished streaming, I'll be able to watch that while I'm on the train. We'll see. All right, so just for some perspective, guys, this is the very top of One Vanderbilt you see here in the blue top. But as we pan over, you can see the entire skyline of Billionaires Row. Somebody asked me, Tom, what are your favorite newspapers? So I really only read 3 publications. I really only read 3 specific publications, or I should say I'm only subscribed to 3. Obviously, number 1 being Investors Business Daily, or IBD. Number 2 would be Barron's, and then number 3 is the Wall Street Journal. But really, if you want to try to just block out the noise, and if you're, running your own money or something like that, I think the only 2 papers you really need is Barron's and IBD. Wall Street Journal just has a lot of noise in there. But it is good to be well read up on the general economy, especially if you are, in a sales role, right? Whatever you're selling, right? You want to be educated on the economy so you could best service your customers. So I would say those 3 are the main ones that I read. So check this out. You can see we have these huge rocks here in Central Park, and once again, gorgeous view of Billionaires Row. Hey, Kevin Moore says, Tom, are you aware that on Monday the 20th, all banks will switch to the Quantum Financial System, or QFS? All banks will be required to be ISO, or they'll be forced to close. I did not know that, Kevin. I did not know that. I'll have to look into that. It's interesting. Hey, Julie M is here. Welcome. Somebody says, what do you think of Jim Cramer? He's more of a TV personality now. But I will say this. Especially with all of the inverse Kramer ETFs coming out, right? I'm sure all of you are aware, right? There's an ETF, an exchange traded fund that you could actually buy. Wow, look at this. You could see the top of the Essex House too. This is another really, really luxurious hotel. It is the JW Marriott Essex House. Really beautiful. But I will say this. If you're doing a live television show, you really got to understand the incentivization structure, right, of doing a television show like Mad Money, right? You want to drive ratings. That's why there's things buzzing around and, Kramer's going crazy. It's to attract an audience, right? And back in the day, Jim Cramer was a very, very successful hedge fund manager that made a ton of money, a killing. Very, very successful hedge fund manager. So if you're on television every night, real quick, I want to take you guys over this bridge. It is really, really beautiful. I don't think the view does its justice at night, but you guys got to come here when it's during the daytime. The views are amazing. You could see almost every single building on Billionaires Row, from 220 Central Park South to Central Park Tower to 157 and the Steinway. It's just really, really beautiful here. But anyway, what I was saying is, when you make that transition to doing a television show, you're essentially getting bombarded with questions, right? People call into Mad Money. They're like, hey, Jim, what do you think about this stock? Recommend me this stock, this one and that one. And markets are very fluid. So Kramer, if you think about it, he's on 5 nights a week. He has to recommend and give his opinion on hundreds, if not thousands, of stocks. For anybody who's been in the investment business and understands it, it's physically impossible to know about all of those specific companies. That's why, oftentimes if you've ever worked at, an investment bank and you're an equity research analyst, they'll actually have teams that are assigned to specific industries. Maybe you're covering oil and gas, maybe you're covering telecom companies, maybe you're covering enterprise software. Right? So if you're on TV every night recommending different things, you're obviously not going to be well read up on it. And I think that's why the inverse Kramer ETFs are so popular, and people saying, oh, he's terrible. If he says one thing, just do the opposite. But I think people need to understand that perspective of, if you're on TV every night, talking about thousands of stocks, it's physically impossible to be well read up on them all. I don't know, that's just my personal point of view. Now this is the Plaza Hotel over here. Look at how beautiful the water is. You could actually see the reflections of the light from the Plaza Hotel onto the water. Really beautiful night here. Greg says Kramer is a clown. I hate how he has made investing into the bozo clown show. Yeah, I mean, Greg, I can definitely see your opinion on that. I get it. But again, I just, would just like to put my point about, Mad Money, you're watching television. I think people need to understand that, right? When you're watching CNBC, when you're watching Mad Money, you're watching television. And I think people need to realize that. And television isn't real, right? Television is television. You want to drive the ratings. That's why you have all these buttons he's pushing and this and that, confetti blowing all over the place. But back in the day, Kramer was a very, very successful hedge fund manager. But again, to your point, a lot of other people's points in the chat, if this guy is fielding calls from thousands of people, hey Jim, what do you think about this random stock? And you notice how he always just has an answer for everything? It's just impossible to be well read up and follow all those different companies. It just doesn't make sense. So, I don't know, that's the way really I view it. Hey, Patrick, New York. What's up, Patrick? Mitty Matty is here. Welcome. Tori Wolfs is so beautiful. Thank you, Tori. It really is. Central Park is one of my favorite parks in the entire city. But I actually do have a park that is that I enjoy a little bit better than this one. It's actually called Riverside Park. Now, we really can't go there at night because it's not a lot of light and you guys won't be able to see anything. But maybe one day when we're able to do the live stream during the day, Here's one more shot of Billionaires Row here. Hey, Russ Lowers says, hey Tom, good to see you, Russ. Welcome. Flat Smack is here. Hey, Tori Wolf says, Tom, my first time here, just subscribed. Well, thank you for being here and thank you for subscribing to the channel. It means a lot. So the spot that I wanted to show you guys is just right up here, and then we're actually going to head downtown. Cool Weather Farmer, welcome. Steph UH, good to see you. Dan Zhang says CNBC is more of a market entertainment channel. Yeah, exactly, and you know it's on mainstream cable television, so they got to get the ratings up somehow. Now, I have said this, to Dan's point, there is a lot of useful information on CNBC. However, it's when they interview specific guests. So, for example, Carl Icahn, who is, very famous for being a corporate raider. We'll talk a little bit about that later because today's Saturday, but he was actually made an appearance on CNBC giving his opinion on the Silicon Valley Bank situation. So there's really 4 people that if they're ever on CNBC, I'll make sure I tune in. One of which being Carl Icahn, the other being Paul Tudor Jones, Stanley Druckenmiller, and then Ray Dalio. A lot of the other people I don't really give too much credence to. But guys, this is the spot that I'm talking about, okay? So you have this beautiful sort of walkway here. I'm not sure if you guys could see it because it's so dark, but it's this really nice walkway. You can climb on top of the rocks, and this is your view. So if you're visiting New York City, I would suggest you come here. This is a great place to watch the sunset, and you can see every single building, every single one on Billionaires Row, an unobstructed view, pretty much a full roundabout of every major building we talk about on this show. It's unbelievable, the views here. Now, I'm going to climb up on top of the rocks, and for those of you, who may just be new here, I'll point out each individual building so you guys could see. But if you notice down here, check this out. This is actually the ice skating rink. So during the winter, not only can you watch the sunset, but you can watch everybody ice skating here. It's really, really beautiful. So we'll go from left to right here. Hey, Silversmith is here. Says, Tom, there were only 4 people at Silicon Valley Bank, apparently. What a joke. I thought Wells Fargo was the worst. Yeah, well, Wells Fargo, if you want to talk about an ethics issue, we could really talk about Wells Fargo for hours. We could probably dedicate an entire stream to it. But all right, I'll point out the buildings. This big one right here, everybody, is 432 Park Avenue, okay? The big one that's standing out right here. If we go further down, this building is actually the Trump Tower. You see that black building that's sticking up right there, right behind the Plaza Hotel? That's actually the main Trump Tower, okay? And I believe, I'm not too sure actually. I think the former president still has his primary residence there, but I'm not sure, I think. Then here you have the Plaza Hotel where we were walking before, and now we get into the main Billionaires Row buildings. This very, very skinny one right here, everybody, is called the Steinway building. Just imagine the views of Central Park from the Steinway building. However, this is my favorite one on Billionaires Row, and I'll tell you why. You see the building with this very, very white luminescent top. That's actually 157. And this was actually the original building that started off the Billionaires Row trend right here in New York City. And if you want to look something up, this is really interesting. Way back during Hurricane Sandy, there's some really iconic footage of 157. It's probably about 80% of the way completed during construction, and the crane actually broke off and it was spinning like crazy in the treacherous winds of Hurricane Sandy. So definitely check that out. Then as we go over, you have the Essex House, which is actually the J.W. Marriott Essex House, which is a multi-use building between a hotel and primary residences. And then here's my second favorite, okay, which is actually the tallest building on Billionaires Row. This is Central Park Tower. Now, the interesting thing about Central Park Tower is that they're the same developer of 157 as it is Central Park Tower. It's called the Extel Group. And as of now, if you want to look this up, it's actually a pretty good video. It was shot by Serhant from, or I should say it's shot by Ryan Serhant of Serhant, one of the most successful real estate brokers in New York City. And he got the listing of the triplex at Central Park Tower. And it is on the market for a whopping $250 million. That is $250 million. And then right here, the building with the gold top is 220 Central Park South. This is another new addition to Billionaires Row. And as we were talking about last week, Citadel's Ken Griffin. So for those of you who don't know, Citadel Securities and Citadel is one of the most famous quantitative trading shops and market makers / hedge funds on Wall Street, and one of the most successful too. It was founded by Ken Griffin. He actually started it in his college dorm room when he went to Harvard Business School. I think he owns the triplex at the top. I'm not too sure, but he definitely owns a very, very expensive piece of property in that one. And then last but not least, we have the two towers right here, which is the Deutsche Bank Towers, formerly known as the Time Warner Centers. Deutsche Bank actually just recently moved their major investment bank from Wall Street, where I actually used to work right next door to Deutsche Bank. They moved it here. And then you have the Trump International Hotel and Tower. Hey, Judy Loveday says, I wouldn't want that light shining in my window. Hey, Will M., good to see you, my friend. Jonas B. says, is 53 West 53 a part of Billionaires Row? That's a great question. And I actually forgot to point that out, and I do apologize. So thank you guys so much for pointing that out. This is 53 West 53 right here. So even though it's technically not on 57th Street, it is part of Billionaires Row. And the cool thing about it is it's actually built over the top of MoMA, which is one of the most famous art museums in the city. But you're right, 53 West 53rd right there. It's another gorgeous building right here on Billionaires Row. So thank you for pointing that out. I really do appreciate it. Hey, Mr. Fine Arts, good to see you. Welcome. Oh, real quick, guys. So if you go to my Twitter page, if you follow @WalksWallStreet, there was actually a big protest today. There was, I shouldn't say that big, it wasn't too big, but you guys see this building right here? So if you sort of knock off those buildings here, there's a very notable building right here, and this is actually called 15 Central Park West. Now, 15 Central Park West, it may not look as, eye-popping as all these other crazy megatalls on Billionaires Row, but I can assure you this is one of the most exclusive apartments in all of New York City. 15 Central Park West. It's home to former major hedge fund managers, big former CEOs of mega banks, such as the former CEO of Goldman Sachs, located down on 200 West Street. Lloyd Blankfein has an apartment in here. There was a big protest, and they actually got inside of the main gate of 15 Central Park West, calling for increased taxes on billionaires. If you want to see some footage from that, just follow me @WalksWallStreet. I actually posted some footage. It was kind of crazy how they actually got inside, not inside the building, but inside the gates there. All right, guys, we're actually going to head back into Midtown. Since it's Saturday, I just thought I'd show you guys something new. Very seldom do we ever come into Central Park, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this, mini walking tour of the park. Again, this is one of my favorite locations of all time in Central Park. So again, if you want to get here, if you're a tourist or maybe you're just moving to New York City, the way you get here is you find the Plaza Hotel, which is 59th Street and 5th Avenue, and you just continue to walk up until you see this huge rock. You're not going to miss it, and this is the spot. So again, 59th Street, 5th Avenue, you'll find it. This is one of my personal favorite spots in Central Park because you have sweeping views of Billionaires Row, Midtown Manhattan. All right, let's head back in. It's actually kind of cold in Central Park. Gonna make sure I don't trip. It's pretty dark. But I don't know, what did you guys think? What'd you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down? What would you rate the views? Everybody in the chat. Was this worth it coming here tonight? I think it was worth it. I wanted to show you guys this. I think you'd appreciate it. Hey, Justin S. says, how far do you walk during one of your live streams? Whew, that's a good question. You know, Justin, it depends. I would say we probably do a longer distance during the summer, because the winter, I mean, it's just brutal in New York. But, you know, some nights when we're really, you know, sending it, when we're really blowing it out, I think we've clocked like 13 miles one time, but it always fluctuates. Usually we do over 5. But during the summer, when we do our huge expeditions, I mean, we can sometimes do a half marathon in the city. Hey, ATC, good to see you, my friend. Welcome. Yeah, Robert says that's a $1 billion view for free. It's true. It is true. This is a $1 billion view for free. And it's very quiet here, very peaceful. Especially after the crazy week we've had. Now, I got a question for all of the chatters here. You know, maybe you guys can't see it, but if you look really closely, it looks like these are stars, but I doubt it is, right? Because there's way too much light pollution in New York. So I don't know. But from where I'm standing, it looks like it's stars, but maybe they're satellites, because I read somewhere that there's just way too much light pollution in Manhattan to be able to see any. Is that true? Or maybe on the half chance you could see some. I really don't know, but just asking. Hey, Photos from around New York. What's up, man? A happy Saturday. Good to see you. Photos is on the west side of the park, is the finish line for the half marathon if you want to see it. You know, is that tomorrow? Photos, the half marathon? Because there was a lot of people messaging me about it, and I was in one of these hotels here the other night, and there was tons of people checking in, and one of the front desk guys said it was because of the marathon. Oh, John says, yes, Jupiter and Venus have been very prominent lately. You know, if that's the case, that's awesome, but I always just would figure there's so much light pollution, obviously, that you really couldn't see any stars. I think that's the biggest downside of living in Manhattan. You really can't see any stars, so. Yeah, Jafet Perez, it's just Elon Musk with his Starlink satellites. Hilarious. Kevin Moore says, on Monday, all banks will be required to have their reserve assets backed by gold. I don't know about that. You sure? Yeah, I don't know about that. VPR5 says, I'm filming on 44th Ave and Broadway. Very nice, very cool. Smee Media says, no honking horns in the park. Yeah, well, I'm not sure if you guys knew this or not, but there used to be cars whizzing in and out of Central Park, but they actually closed the entire park to vehicles. But there was a time back in the day where regular, I should say, car traffic like you see here would be able to cut through the park and drive around the park. And I think it was a really good decision by the city to close the entire Central Park down to vehicles. Because if anybody's been in the park in the spring and in the summer, I mean, you're talking about thousands of people, you know, thousands of tourists. I think it's a safety issue, right, if you have cars whizzing in and out. So I think that was the right decision. Hey, Zach Drew, what's up? Says, did you hear the former Coinbase CTO betting 1 million USDC that Bitcoin will hit 1 million in 90 days? You know, Zach, I saw that on Twitter. I briefly read the tweet, but did they actually initiate that? Because I think the tweet went something along the lines of, if we find like a third party to custody all the assets, he'll take the bet. But I mean, that's just ridiculous. I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, I hope it does. Good. If it does, I mean, I'll be, maybe we'll be doing the live stream from the top of 157 if that happens. Just kidding. Hey, the LT Prods is before 9/11. you can get into a lot of places now you can't. That's true. And one of the places that I'm really upset about, actually, after 9/11, which I totally understand, by the way, totally understand that, but after 9/11, they closed down the New York Stock Exchange to tourists, which is a bummer, because if you think about the validity, I should say, and the gravity of what the New York Stock Exchange represents in America, right? Free markets, free enterprise, American exceptionalism, capitalism, opportunity for all people. It's kind of sad that the average American citizen is not able to get access to the building. I think that's kind of a bummer, but I definitely understand why. Definitely understand why, to your point. For a time, and I think it's actually back open now, but for a time, the Statue of Liberty was closed, wasn't it? And they just recently opened it back up a few years ago, but I remember that too. You couldn't even go to the Statue of Liberty after 9/11, but fortunately now that's back open. Here we have a shot of the Sherry Netherland here. Wow, photos from around New York says Tom Woolworth's building lobby was also closed after 9/11. I didn't know that. That's my first time hearing that. Jonas B says, I would like to see the stock exchange. Crypto Hoarders is tuning in from Miami. Love that. Welcome to all of our viewers in Miami. I should be back in Miami pretty soon. But yeah, Jonas B, says, I would really like to see the New York Stock Exchange. I was so blessed this year. Oh, guys, look at that. Wow, this is really unique. Let's actually cross and get a closer look. I just noticed that. I was walking around the city all day today. I didn't even notice that. Looks like we have a new monument, new statue there. I'll wait for the cars to go and then I'll cross. But look, this year I was so blessed to be able to, I was actually invited to the New York Stock Exchange. So, I was so bummed out my whole life that, they closed it after 9/11. I was finally invited. It was probably one of the greatest experiences ever. And I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, it's unfortunate that the average citizen is not able to go in. But I definitely do understand the terrorist risk for sure. But let me tell you, it is worth the hype. Being down there, seeing all the original documents, because that is essentially, you're looking at American capitalism right there in one building. So this is a fascinating piece. I'm not too sure what it represents. I wish there was some sort of a plaque or a monument so we could read it, but it looks kind of unique, right? Oh, maybe this is it. Let's see. Let me try to decipher this. Hey, Mr. is here. Says hello, good to see you, Mr. Welcome. Gail Arnold says, you young man are the best in teaching this awesome generation. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you, Gail, for being here as well. Look at that. It's a pretty cool shot of the monument. And then in the background, you have Billionaires Row. All right, so we are going to head downtown. I made sure I charged up my battery. I think this is it. Look, the Public Art Fund. I'm not going to bother trying to pronounce that because I'm going to butcher it, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but here it is. I think it looks really unique. Hey, Noah Joseph, what's up, man? Says, what's up, friends? Hopping in real quick to say what's up. Noah, hopefully you're making a full recovery, man. I remember last time you told us you had, you were suffering from that accident. So, we're all wishing you well, all sending our thoughts and prayers. Hopefully you'll be back on your feet in no time, and you could fulfill that goal of coming to New York. But hopefully you're enjoying your weekend. You know, we're just walking around on this Saturday, just hanging out. No topic, just sort of taking our day off. I'll show you guys the Sherry Netherland. Hey, Hunter Butler, long time no see. Good to see you. Oh, cool. Noah Joseph says, yeah, I'm finally working again. Thank you for your kind words. Well, that's good. So things are on the up and up. That's what we like to hear. Now, I forget who it was, and I apologize. Somebody sent me a really interesting email, and I want you guys to look this up while we're doing the stream. So there was a very, very wealthy Chinese billionaire that I believe had a residence inside the Sherry Netherland. Now, the FBI raided this building earlier, I think it was last week. Could somebody pull up that New York Post article? I think it was in the Wall Street Journal too. So the FBI, or the federal authorities, raided this building. I think they arrested the gentleman. It was some sort of a Chinese billionaire. And then there was a fire that broke out here. Now, I'm not sure if the fire was related to the incident of the FBI raid. That I don't know. I haven't followed up on the story since. But there was a big fire here, and there was a raid that led to an arrest. Sherry Netherland. This is a very, very exclusive piece of property here on Fifth Avenue. Once again, it's very well known to me because, once again, if you've ever read the book Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, that is based on the life of Jesse Livermore. This is where he died, right here. Beacon, New York says he's a friend of Steve Bannon. So Steve Bannon is what, the lawyer? Is that right, Beacon, New York? Hey, AK is here. Says yes, he was arrested, and it seems there have been a few fires in his apartment. So AK, have they released further details about the cause of the fire or no? And I really do apologize if the gentleman is watching that sent me the article. I just forget the name. Yeah, Hawaii. I heard about. Yeah, it was like I don't really know what he was doing, but I heard it was a fraud as well. Somebody saying the FBI was in the apartment when it happened the first time. Hey, Diane says, Tom, you said you were going to run the marathon. Do you train more in addition to your walks? Yes. If I actually were to enroll into it. Now, the New York City Marathon is next year in November, so we do have some time. However, if I didn't train, could I complete it pretty easily? Yes. But that's just because, I'm used to doing a ton of cardio. During my college soccer days, I would be running 55 miles a week. Right, and doing really high-intensive interval sprints. So long distance running and marathon running is pretty easy to me. But yes, I would want to train for that so I don't hurt myself. But I could probably bang out 26 miles and no problem. Okay, let me read some of these chats because I'm curious about this story actually. Jafet Perez says authorities are investigating whether the mysterious blaze inside the Manhattan apartments of Chinese billionaire an accused fraudster was sparked remotely. Well, there's been a couple fires. Interesting. All right, guys, this is the main flagship Apple store here. Maybe since it's Saturday, should we go in there? Should I show you guys inside the Apple store? Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to just do a quick walk around the inside. Now, the Apple store is actually located underground. So if you look at all of these little chairs, these are actually portals that you could see inside the building there. Wow, James Tiger, congrats, man. That's awesome. Yeah, running a half marathon is no easy task, right? So congratulations on your success. I think there's going to be a race in New York City tomorrow. Here's a Tesla right here. Really nice Tesla, by the way. Real quick, I can't bite my tongue about this. The last Dow 30 company to report this earnings season is going to be Nike, and it's going to be next week. So this is going to be all hands on deck. We are finally going into the tail end of earnings season, so Just keep that in mind. Next week, we're probably going to be covering Nike's earnings in detail. So again, that is the last stock in the Dow to report. So we'll be doing full coverage on that. Hey, Jeff W277 says I'm doing the New York City half tomorrow. Hey, Jeff. Well, congratulations on the race, and hopefully you make it in record time. And keep us updated. Let us know how the race was. So I'm sure you had a big pasta dinner tonight, right? Usually before race day, everybody goes out and gets a huge pasta dinner. I remember I used to run the Long Island Marathon. Well, I used to do the half marathon on the Long Island Marathon. And a couple days before the race, I think like 1 to 2 days before, we would always have these really big pasta dinners. All right, guys, so we're going to go inside the Apple Store just to do a quick look around. But we're going to go in the side entrance that not a lot of people know about. Hey, Kanar Bar is here. Welcome. Silversmith is here. Good to see you. So here is the side entrance to the Apple Store here. Man, it is cold tonight. So as you notice, here it is. So right here is usually where they do all of the demonstrations. So for example, let's say if you buy a new MacBook Pro or an iPhone, you could actually schedule a demo, and you could have the geniuses, as they call them, at the Apple Store sort of, help you out with the different products and services. But it's a very unique store, and it's open 24/7, 365. So if you're ever in need of an iPhone at 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning, this is definitely the place to go. Now, speaking of Apple, Apple was actually up on the week. NASDAQ stocks were heavily outperforming pretty much all of the other major indices. But I think the biggest sector that had the most gains was actually a lot of the gold and silver mining stocks. Now, I don't have any exposure to them, but a gentleman that we talk about a lot, Peter Schiff, has a ton of exposure to those particular stocks. Isn't that what they call them, Atlas? Geniuses? Isn't that what they call them? I could have sworn they called them that, right? Apple geniuses? I have no idea, dude. All right, we'll give you a quick panoramic view of the Apple Store. This is supposed to resemble the core, so that is what we saw outside, sort of a spiral staircase. Hey, Rachel K says, what street is the 24/7 Apple Store on? So we are now at 59th Street and 5th Avenue. So this is the main flagship location in New York City. Now, I actually have this computer right here, the iMac. It has the M1 chip in it. This is the fastest computer I've ever owned. So I would recommend it. I actually do have the one in blue. But I think Apple actually just came out with their second product set of the M2 chip. And if you can imagine how fast the M1 is, I can't even imagine the performance of the M2. Yeah, 446s, don't forget, Bitcoin did very well this week. It did, really did. So gold and digital gold doing very well. All right, we'll head up. But usually I show you guys the view from the top. This is the view from underneath. So you know those chairs that you see from above? This is the view. So all of these little portals are actually seats from up above. I'll show you guys. So there's 3 entrances here. I should say 3 exits and entrances. One is all the way over there where we just were. The main one is what you see with the elevator. Sort of looks like an apple's core, sort of a spiral staircase. And then you have another one on the southernmost side of the building as well. Yeah, Joseph Hardaway says, love the tree and moss designs. I really do too. It sort of livens up the space. Since this is literally in a basement, they really designed it well, so there's a lot of light, a lot of natural light coming in here too. I'm not too sure if the trees are real. I think they're fake, but we'll see. All right, let's head out. I thought I'd show you guys. It's Saturday, you know, we're just hanging out, no big deal. All right, let's head upstairs. And here you have 432 Park. And there we were. That's the main entrance right there. I'll quickly show you the view from the top here. So remember all the little holes in the ceiling? This is actually what you were looking at, so check this out. From the outside, you could actually look in and take a look at all the shoppers. It's pretty unique. So they double as chairs, but you could actually take a little bit of a peek inside and see all of the shoppers, you know, checking out all of the different products. It's really unique, right? What do you guys think about this building? Kind of cool. So once again, if you're new here and you want to visit this for yourself, this is the 24 hours a day, okay, 365 days a year. The Apple Store is open. If you want to find it, come to 5th Avenue on the corner of 59th Street, right across the street from the beautiful Plaza Hotel. Now, this has been in many movies. You probably recognize it from Home Alone. So, hey, touring different places. Good to see you. Mr. Bagman says bullish Apple. TPAC 5000 says, I ask what the property taxes are on that place. You know, if I had to guess, I actually wouldn't think as high as maybe some of you are thinking. You know, a lot of the times the city will give a lot of different tax breaks to big organizations and things like that, especially if you have a big public place. Now notice 432 Park Avenue. Now since we're close to it, I'll actually show you guys. But this is a very clever way that developers can get a pretty good tax break. So if you have a space that is dedicated to the public, you actually can get a pretty big tax break. So I'm actually going to show you guys what I'm talking about at 432 Park. Hey, Russ Lowers, thank you so much for your very kind $5 donation. I appreciate it very, very much. But since we're close to 432, we might as well just take a walk over there and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Also a lot of new developments as well. So if you're buying a new development in the city, chances are that your property taxes will probably be a little bit less for a certain amount of years because the developers do get a tax break. The LT Pride says they get tax incentives. Are a good deal for sure. That store brings a lot of people to the city. Yeah, you're right. Now, I think we guessed, remember we were doing this live stream maybe over the winter, and we were guessing, what do you guys think the revenue, the average daily revenue is for that Apple Store? If you just had to guess. All right, I'll quickly show you. This is the major, I should say the main flagship Louis Vuitton store right here on 5th Avenue. But if you guys had to guess the average daily revenue amount that main flagship 5th Avenue Apple Store brings in, what would you say? 50K? I think it's a lot more than that. I think it may be a lot more than that. I don't know. Is there a way to look that up? I don't think they disclose that publicly, do they? Michael Joseph says 100K. 45 says $1 million. I'm thinking closer to $1 million. That's sort of what I was thinking, because you guys got to understand, right? The hours of operation, it's open 24 hours a day. So, you know, an average Apple store is probably open from what, 9 o'clock in the morning to what, 5 or 6 o'clock at night. This one's open 24 hours, so that allows for tons and tons of volume. And you'd be surprised, you know, there's tourists from all over the world that solely come to the Fifth Avenue Apple store to buy their products just so they could say, hey, I bought, you know, this iPhone or this computer at the flagship store. You know, maybe for me, since I'm from New York and I live here, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but for a lot of people it is. You know, sometimes people can only come to New York one time in their life, so it's a big deal. Benjamin says 750,000. Kevin Ramsey says $1 million a day. Maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, maybe 300,000 to $1 million, who knows. During the holidays and during major releases, maybe a lot more. Sunshine After Rain says 500K. All right, this is 432 Park. This is on the corner of Madison Avenue now. And if you look all the way in the distance, you'll actually be able to see One Vanderbilt. Roz999 says, come on guys, 100K a day tops. Now that I'm thinking about it and doing the math in my head, that makes more sense, right? Because do you think that store really brings in revenue $365 million? I don't know about that. Now that I'm sort of being a little bit more thoughtful about it, yeah, if they do $1 million a day, I mean, that's significant. I don't know about that. Maybe we could Google it and look it up, who knows? Rick Fridays, Tom, have you hung around in an Apple store for an hour? Most are only looking at the devices and not shopping. That is true, however, I do have a friend who works at that Apple store, and he tells me that you would be surprised of what some people spend there, right? Especially, you know, a lot of wealthy tourists, right, that come from overseas. You know, they're just buying their kids everything, you know, Apple Watches. It's insane the bills they rack up. So I think a flagship store is a little bit different, right? Now, your local Apple store, maybe out on Long Island, yeah, the vast majority of people are looking. But, you know, in a place like Fifth Avenue, I think that probably drives a lot more sales than you think. I don't know. Hey, DJ reviewing under 2. Good to see you. Okay, guys, this is the first example of a public space, right, where you can get a tax incentive or a tax break. So this is actually open to the public. It's an atrium. It's open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I used to spend a ton of time here. It's actually really, really beautiful inside. You can see all the bamboo, everything. It's a really, really beautiful place. Now, there's 2 entrances, okay? You can enter the Trump Tower here, but you could also enter the IBM building. So I'm sure there's some sort of a tax, or there was some sort of a tax break or a tax incentive there. But I know for a fact, this building that we're about to see, 432 Park, I'll try to avoid this guy, that we're about to see, 432 Park, did get a pretty sizable tax break due to the public space they built. And it is quite nice. So I'm not complaining about it, but it is quite nice. Chinook Wins says Apple's total net sales amounted to $394 billion in their 2022 financial year, so over $1 billion a day globally. I would think the flagship store in New York could easily be doing 1 million plus. Wow. Think about how crazy that is. Think about how that is insane, man. I would say Apple is probably the most powerful brand on earth, probably more powerful than Nike. Would you guys say? Probably, I mean, obviously, right? Apple, $1 trillion market cap. But in terms of branding, I think the Apple logo is probably the strongest brand. It's definitely either number one or number two. If I had to rank, okay, the strongest brands in America, it would be Apple, it would be Nike, and it would be Starbucks. Thoughts there? That's actually kind of interesting. It's a thought-provoking comment. If you had to name, like, if somebody came out to you and said, okay, what are the 3 most recognizable brands in America? I would say those 3, Apple, Nike, and Starbucks, right? Okay, here we are, team, we made it. This is the luxurious 432 Park Avenue. Now, notice the big, huge 10-foot windows. These things are absolutely gorgeous. But notice as we point the camera up the building, these big 10-foot windows start to look extremely, extremely, extremely small. Now, on most days, let's say if it's a cloudy day in New York, right? Assuming you live in the top penthouse, 432 Park Avenue, your view could literally be in the clouds. So you're waking up sometimes even above the clouds in New York. This is some of the most expensive real estate, not only in New York City, but in the entire world, is located right here on Billionaires Row. Really cool stuff. But this is the public space I was talking about. So if we continue on towards Park Avenue, you'll see what I mean. Yeah, Nina says it's scary tall, isn't it? It's really amazing. And there's actually, and I'm not sure if this civil suit has closed or if it's still ongoing litigation, but many of the tenants, okay, many of the residences of 432 Park Avenue are actually suing the developer because there's been so many problems with this building, from swaying back and forth to electrical problems to the elevators not working. It's pretty wild. Now, there was a really, really well-produced, very good video about this made by Urbanist, or The Urbanist. He is a very well-known and really, really good channel to follow if you're interested in very deep and rich history of New York, but not only New York, but around the world. He made a fantastic video outlining what this building was actually designed. And according to his video, this building is actually designed after a garbage can. I had no idea, but apparently it's true. And if you watch that video, I think he actually goes in detail about all the problems that happened with this building. It's a really interesting piece, but I think even after all the problems, I'd still probably live here. Not gonna lie. Because, you know, if you have an opportunity to live on Billionaires Row in New York, I think everybody would take that opportunity. All right, so here we are at the public space. So this is open 24/7, 365 to the public. You have your tables, you have your chairs. Now, obviously, it's empty right now, right? Because it's, 10 o'clock at night? But during the day, you'd be surprised. This fills up pretty quickly, especially during lunchtime, because we are literally right on Wall Street. Now, technically not Wall Street, the actual street, right? That's in Lower Manhattan. But, you know, if you've been watching the show, you'll understand that pretty much all of the major investment banks, hedge funds, family offices actually moved to Midtown Manhattan. So Park Avenue is really considered the financial capital of the world. So here we are, open to the public 24 hours. The owner, 432 Park Condominium, 432 Park Avenue. So obviously they get a little bit of a nice tax break here. Kind of cool, right? You know, I really like this detail. Let me point this out to you guys. So as we pointed out before, these beautiful big 10-foot windows, right? But the entrances of the building, it's sort of like it's hollowed out. So it's very smooth, it's flush with the concrete to the outside. Really cool, really beautiful. I think this is probably the concierge, the front desk. We won't really film inside because it's such an exclusive building. We don't want to get yelled at. But yeah, and here's an art gallery too. Hey, Ed Potke, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Says, hey, Tom, my friend, what are your thoughts about 1913 fake money? I don't know, to be quite honest, man. D says, I get motion sickness easy, so I couldn't do it. So check this out, 20th century and contemporary art day sale highlights. So if you're looking for some interesting pieces to purchase, oh, Tesla taxi, dude, awesome. Look at that. You know, I've never seen that model Tesla taxi before. This is the first time on live stream where we actually saw it in person. This particular model. Now, what model is this, everybody? Is this the Y, Tesla Model Y, or is this the Tesla Model X? Man, that looks good, doesn't it? So let's say, okay, play this out. You guys watch the Walks on Wall Street live stream. You're like, you know what? That Tom guy sounds pretty sharp. I'm going to go ahead and purchase one of the big condominiums there at 432 Park Avenue. Well, not to worry. You could actually come down here and purchase one of these beautiful art pieces to fill up your beautiful apartment. I think there's more if we actually go around the other side. Hold on. You guys will be able to see it a little bit better. I'm sure you could probably purchase some of these pieces to furnish your apartment. Kind of unique. Hey, S is so grateful for that quick tour. Thanks, Tom. I always wanted to live there. Well, maybe you will one day. You know, just keep at it. And there's no doubt in my mind that you will. Now, we've been talking a lot about real estate, specifically commercial real estate in Manhattan. Okay, now this building is 425 Park Avenue. Okay, not to be mistaken with 432. 425 Park Avenue is exclusively office space. And as we talked about a little bit before, at the start of the live stream, we talked about Citadel Securities that is owned by Ken Griffin. So Citadel has a huge presence in this brand new Class A office building. And it is really an unbelievable building. Now, if you go to Bloomberg's YouTube page and you type in 425 Park, Bloomberg did a very good video outlining all of the benefits of this building. And essentially what's happening in New York is you're going to have a big flight to quality. So you look at all these old type office buildings in New York, a lot of these are empty. And that is due to COVID. And a lot of people are only coming back to the city to work 2 to 3 days a week. Okay, so that means there's no way they're going to come back to a 1980s, 1970s office building. They're going to go to the quality, the premium buildings, and they're probably going to get a lot less office space. So that's going to cause a really big problem for a lot of the other office buildings in the city. So the city's going to need to do a lot to offer different incentives and things like that in order to redevelop those buildings into maybe residences. But we talked about some of the struggles with that, with all the asbestos and the like. But just keep in mind, think about KPMG, big consulting firm. They actually moved their presence from the east side of Manhattan to the Hudson Yards. Hudson Yards is a brand new development. Beautiful Class A properties. BlackRock also moved there as well. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting over the next couple years. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams about 7 days a week between New York City and Miami. Monday through Friday, we talk about the financial markets. Saturday is our day off. We just kind of hang out. And Sunday is our Markets to Look Ahead stream. Ironically enough, we're walking past the First Republic Bank. This is another bank that is in some pretty harsh turmoil right now. I think they have capital injections from JP Morgan. So hopefully this won't be the next domino to fall. First Republic. Hey, retired in Florida. Says anyone gifting my son a Tesla 3 Performance next week? Wow. Any suggestions on taking delivery as Tesla purchase process versus regular cars are different to us older folks? Thanks, Tom, and be safe. Wow, dude, that's awesome. I don't really know anything about the process. I've never bought a Tesla, but that's, dude, your son is going to be stoked. I would be stoked if I got a Tesla. That's awesome. Wow, a Tesla 3 Performance. That's fantastic, dude. I'm so happy to hear that. Iris Lewis says, do you think for a JP Morgan Chase takeover? I don't know. I mean, you know, there was rumors circulating last week. We'll try to cross. I just want to avoid this guy. He's got something in his hand. There was some rumor mills last week that JP Morgan was going to take over the bank, but I think those rumors were false. Now, the funny thing is, this was on March 16th, I believe. And I tweeted, and if you follow me on Twitter, you know, at Walks Wall Street, I said if JP Morgan made a bid or actually took over First Republic, this would be the second time in history that they purchased the bank on March 16th. The previous time was in 2008 when JP Morgan Chase purchased, or JP Morgan purchased Bear Stearns for $2 a share. Wow. Guys, this just opened. Usually when we walk past here, this is all closed off, but this public space is brand new. Let's check it out. This is the first time I'm ever seeing it. They probably just opened it today. Look at this. Okay, so open to the public, and these two huge garage doors. So that must mean there's a very, very big parking garage underneath the ground here. Very cool. But this is a brand new public space for us to enjoy in New York. This is good news. Let's check it out. Now, they went with this sort of white marble texture here. Very, very beautiful, but hopefully that stays intact like that for quite some time. Look at this. Look at the finishes here. Beautiful wood finishes. Now, this is brand new, so it looks really good. So hopefully it stays like this. You have some little eateries here if you want to get a snack. Wow, you have Black Fox Coffee here too. This is actually a really good coffee shop. There's another location right behind the old Deutsche Bank down on Wall Street. Now, guys, I would assume that this is going to be some sort of a fountain, but it's probably only going to be turned on in the summer. Hey, Atlas says, I'm going to go check this out this week. Haven't been in Manhattan in a few weeks. Yeah, I mean, this looks really nice. So for those of you who want to check this out yourself, just go to the Trump Tower. It's literally right behind the atrium. I think they did a really good job. Ah, Michael Joseph, you're right. I think you sent that to me on Twitter, didn't you? There's going to be a public beach opening in Manhattan, on the west side of Manhattan. Look at this. This is I think this maybe is mimicking a fire pit. How unique is that? Guys, check this out. Look at how cool that is. Let's see what's in here, actually. It kind of looks like a fire pit, but no, it's just a fountain. Hey, Dusty Cole is joining us. Good to see you, Dusty. Thanks for being here. And then this is the new coffee shop, Black Fox Coffee. And I think you could probably have access to the office building here too. So it's probably a total brand new remodel. It looks really nice. Roz999 says, I am seeing online that the Fifth Avenue Apple Store made $1 million a day early on. It decreased slightly, but still closed. Wow. So I guess me and 45 were right. We were right on the money at $1 million. I mean, guys, think about that for a moment, okay? Think about how freaking crazy that is. One store. Now, again, we're talking about revenue, I'm assuming, right? It can't be profitability. It's impossible. But in terms of revenue, one store, the Apple flagship Fifth Avenue Apple Store, is bringing in $1 million in revenue a day. That's $365 million a year. Holy crap. I just can't even wrap my head around that, actually. Man. Hey, Vincent. Says, have you taken any new position for anticipated Fed meetings? On Tuesday, I shorted. Okay. No really new breaking positions. Now, to Vincent's point, next week is going to be very significant on Wall Street. Okay, we are going to have the FOMC meeting, and I think this is the most divided Wall Street and Main Street has been going into an FOMC meeting. Would we agree on that? I think we would all agree on that. I think this is by far the most divided Wall Street and Main Street has been in terms of the outcome of the FOMC meeting. You know, you had people or pundits on CNN. Well, look at the Harry Winston. This store is gorgeous here. Now, you had some analysts calling for a 25 basis point rate hike. You had Goldman Sachs coming out saying that there's going to be a pause. Then you had Nomura coming out saying there's going to be a 25 basis point rate cut. So it is in my opinion that the Federal Reserve will be steadfast with raising interest rates, because if they don't, I think they're going to spook the hell out of the market. I would not be surprised, okay, on the oddball chance that the Federal Reserve cuts rates by 25 basis points, that you could see this market limit down. That is my worldview there. If the Fed cuts by 25 basis points, I think the market will be limit down. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Federal Reserve is going to raise by 25 basis points. And the reason why I think this is because, real quick, this is the St. Regis, 5-star hotel, gorgeous hotel. The lobby is amazing. Now, does anybody remember during the holidays, I actually took you guys in the peninsula. This is another really beautiful hotel here on Manhattan's Fifth Avenue. Gorgeous inside. The lobby is unreal. Maybe next year or this year during the holidays we'll go in again. But if the Fed doesn't raise by 25 basis points, I think that's going to spook the market, because that's going to send a signal that something is really, really wrong with this Silicon Valley Bank situation, and there could be more contagion. Because, again, you have to remember the narrative. The Fed has been very clear, and it's not just Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. This is all of the Fed presidents, aside for a couple, major doves. But a lot of the Federal Reserve presidents said they will do anything and everything necessary to get inflation back down to that 2% target. And just 2 weeks ago, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell actually came out and said that market participants are going to be surprised by how high rates are going to go and how long we're going to hold rates that high. So if he comes out and does a complete 180 turn, I think that's going to freak a lot of people out to say, oh my gosh, the Fed is going to let inflation run crazy in order to save the financial system. And that's going to freak a lot of people out. I think that's going to exacerbate these bank runs. But I don't know, any thoughts there? But I don't have any new positions. However, I will tell you, and real quick, just again, everybody, and everybody knows this, but there's always a couple outliers. that don't understand just like basic obvious. This stream is, for to have an open discussion, right? Nobody is recommending to do anything. Nobody is telling you to do anything. We just have open discussion about the markets as adults. Okay, so, you got to do your own research. It's obvious this is just a podcast just to have open dialogue. With that being said, if gold breaks into new high territory, I will be getting involved in that, probably with significant size too, because all of the fundamental factors line up. You saw huge fund flows into gold. This is St. Thomas Church. Gold is trading at what, 1985? I think. It's definitely above 1900. If we clear 2000, I think gold is off to the races. I think the Silicon Valley Bank, I think the Silvergate, and all of this other banking situation has really scared the American public. And that's why you're seeing a flight to hard assets and a flight to unconfiscatable assets like Bitcoin, right? If you own your private keys, you self-custody, that is an unconfiscatable asset. So, we'll see if there's still some outperformance there. Who knows? All right, let me show you guys St. Thomas Church. Hey, Oscar Diaz says, hey, Tom, when the major indices are up, why is the VOX index down? Are you referring to the VIX, maybe? Maybe it was a typo, the VIX? Well, VIX is just perceived volatility, right? And, some people call the VIX the fear-greed index. I think that's actually not a good characterization of it. You got to understand something, right? Volatility can be expensive. And I'll give you a quick example. Now, you saw the VIX go on a rocket ride this week. I think the VIX was up like 20% at one point. It's been very volatile. But that is because you have extreme options activity, right? So if you think about how options are priced, and this is why I've been very outspoken about and against, all of these retail options traders on Robinhood, because they don't even understand how options are priced. They don't understand the price of volatility. When the VIX is elevated, that is going to pump up the prices of these put options. So it's going to be more expensive to purchase those put options. Now, you also run the risk of, if you have vol crush or volatility crush, all your premium is going to be sucked out of that position, and you're probably going to get killed on it. So this week, the market was up, the market was down. This guy thinks I'm trying to catch a cab. The market was up, the market was down, but for the majority of the week, the market was up. We paired some of those gains later on in the week, but you had a ton of people hedging, and you had a ton of people making outright bearish bets on the market and other individual stocks. So market makers have to adjust for that, and volatility is very, very expensive. Hey, Michael Josephs is getting close to 30. Higher than 30 is the fear gauge. Well, the VIX has been very, very suppressed. Now that we're on the topic, so I have to sneeze. You ever on like the verge of sneezing, but you can't get it out, and it's like so weird? Anyway. That reminds me of something I wanted to tell you guys. But real quick, in honor of St. Patrick's Day yesterday, here we have St. Patrick's Cathedral. Take a look at this. Now, here's why I'm concerned about the equity market. You guys want to know? I'll tell you why. Did anybody notice the fund flows, specifically on Monday and Tuesday, as it relates to major ETFs and mutual funds in general? Now, what is the one ETF that took in the most amount of money in those 2 days? Does anybody want to take a guess? I think probably some of you are going to nail this. Hey, Ryan Beck is here. Good to see you, Ryan. Welcome. Junior's is such a beautiful, beautiful cathedral. It really is. It's gorgeous here. Hey, Boone, this is Tom. Since I'm from Berlin, Germany, let's take a look towards Europe. What do you think about Credit Suisse, maybe merger with UBS? Hey, there's been a lot of speculation about that. Now, I will say this, okay? And we talked about this 2 live streams ago. I think we even touched on it yesterday. And we'll even throw in Deutsche Bank in there, right? Since, you know, German, Deutsche Bank, major bank. These 2 banks have been in trouble since the financial crisis. You know, Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse have been 2 major troubled banks. This isn't new news, okay? It's new news for a lot of people who don't follow the markets, but I think this bank run, the Silicon Valley Bank situation, is just the catalyst that is going to put these banks to their demise, if you will. Now, in Credit Suisse's scenario, check out all these American flags. Love this shot. Empire State Building right there. The Swiss government's probably going to come to the rescue. But Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse have always been horribly run and very troubled banks. Always. Ever since the financial crisis. If you look at the history leading up to the 2008 crisis, unfortunately, a lot of the German banks could not get enough of the garbage, toxic derivative assets that a lot of the American banks were selling. I think Deutsche Bank was the largest purchaser of these toxic derivative assets, that had some subprime mortgages in them, and they never really recovered from that. So that's sort of my piece there. But anyway, so to answer the question, to give you guys the answer, it's Cathie Wood's ARK Innovation Funds. And if people are still buying the dip and putting money into those very high beta, frothy growth stock ETFs, I don't think this market is anywhere near bottoming, just based on that alone. Now, it may sound harsh, it may sound horrible, but I'm just giving you guys the reality of market history. Markets do not bottom until retail is decimated and totally blown out. That's not my opinion. That's not what I want. That's just what happens. So I find it very hard to believe that if ARK could take in over 100 billion or whatever they took in, I forget. Not 100 billion. I forget what the exact number was, but if they're seeing net positive inflows, I think this market still has a lot to flush out. I could be wrong, but we'll see. All right, team, we have arrived at Rockefeller Center, New York City's beautiful Rockefeller Center right here. And here is 30 Rock. Somebody says, how much of a role did the FTX failure play into the current failures? I actually don't think a lot. I really don't think a lot. Now, could you argue that in SBV's or SVB's situation, a lot of these unprofitable companies that these venture capitalists were giving money to aided in the crisis? Yes, that is true. But you guys got to understand, the main issue now, and here's the ice skating rink, is the duration risk on these bonds. Okay, so as a quick little lesson, and there's actually a fair amount of people ice skating tonight. This is kind of nice to look at. Now the problem is we are coming off of 14 years of ZIRP, zero interest rate policy and quantitative easing. Okay, so what that means is the vast majority of these bonds, right, if you want to talk about mortgage-backed securities or MBS and even treasuries, they were yielding extremely low yield. So again, I give the example of the Silicon Valley Bank. They purchased about $90 billion worth of, ooh, she fell. Yikes. They purchased about $90 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities with 10-year duration at less than 2% interest rate. Now, as we've been following and covering almost every day on the live stream, interest rates moved about 400 basis points over the course of the last 12 to 14 months. So again, the correlation between bond prices and yields is an inverse correlation. So as you have interest rates going up, the bond prices go down. So the problem with the Silicon Valley Bank and a lot of these other banks that were so loaded with these long-term duration bonds, and every bank is, by the way, it's not just Silicon Valley Bank, it's every bank on the planet, is as customers are starting to withdraw their funds, they're being forced to sell their assets at a steep loss. That is why the government, or I should say the Federal Reserve, came up with this program so that these banks don't have to sell these mortgage-backed securities and treasuries for pennies on the dollar. They can temporarily shift them over to the Fed's balance sheet in exchange for liquidity to meet those redemptions. Does that make sense? So it's not necessarily, yes, were the banks incompetent, specifically Silicon Valley Bank, with not hedging for duration risk and interest rate hedges? Of course. But all of these banks are holding these bonds yielding pretty much nothing. And if they do not hold them to maturity, they're going to take a loss on them, right? Because interest rates are on an entirely new planet from where they were in 2021. So in theory, if Silicon Valley Bank were able to hold those mortgage-backed securities to maturity, they would be fine, okay? But since rates have gone up so much, those bonds have eroded in face value. So the Federal Reserve's new program, or the discount window, allows those banks to shift their liabilities over to the Fed balance sheet in exchange for the liquidity, so they don't have to fire sale their assets. All right, so here we have another view of Rockefeller Center. Hey, OG says hello from Afghanistan. Good to see all of our viewers from Afghanistan. Thank you for being here. Yeah, Wayne McKay says Kathy Wood's ARK Innovation ETF attracted 397 million in inflows on Friday. Yeah, that is not good news from a sentiment standpoint. All right, let's continue downtown. We were supposed to go all the way to, we were supposed to go to Greenwich Village tonight. We're nowhere near there. Hey, Jacob is here. This isn't the part and parcel of slowing the economy. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, Jacob, there's two things at play there, right? So one way, well, it is in my opinion, right? And I tend to take a really strong opinion on this. I actually don't think raising rates does anything to fight inflation. That is of my opinion. Many people disagree with me. It's all about the money supply, right? And the Federal Reserve provides liquidity to the financial system by doing a few things. So if you look at the Fed's balance sheet, and this is publicly available information, you can just go to the Fed's website, you could see their balance sheet, and the way they expand it and provide liquidity to the financial system is by buying mortgage-backed securities and treasuries, right, to provide monetary stimulus and expand the money supply. The program to backstop depositors is not that. It's technically not quantitative easing. But if you want to kill inflation, you got to shrink the money supply, right? So a really good indicator to look at is something called money velocity. So that is the rate at which cash funnels through the system. So if you have a ton of cash circulating through the system, that is not good for inflation. So again, if we think about the stimulus programs that not only from a monetary standpoint, but from a fiscal standpoint, that happened during COVID, we printed a bunch of money and we gave it to people to stay home and purchase goods and services on Amazon that nobody was working on creating, right? So you had tons of demand, but nobody working to make those goods that people were wanting to consume. And that is why we also have this supply chain issue. So some people say, look, it's not the money supply, it's the supply chain issue. Right, but what has caused the supply chain issue? In my view, what has caused this supply chain issue is governments around the world giving people money to stay home to not produce the goods that everybody wanted to buy in the first place. So I think that has caused a lot of this inflation. Now, the good news is if you look at a lot of the leading economic indicators, almost every single leading economic indicator is pointing to inflation falling off a cliff here, which is good news, right? We just got the CPI report out, came in at 6%. About 70% of all of the inflation in that report was due to shelter costs. And again, if you've been watching the stream, I really do think that shelter costs are going to fall off a cliff here, but we'll see. Hey, Joe C, good to see you. Welcome, Joe C. Canar Bar, welcome. So this is Radio City Music Hall. And speaking of UBS, everybody, here it is, UBS, major investment bank that is, I guess, allegedly making a bid or is going to make a bid for First Republic. Do we have any more news on that, by the way? Because before we started live streaming, there was some breaking news about UBS. I'm curious to see if there's any more additional news about that potential bid. Who knows? Check out the fountain. Hey, Lucas here says, I'm loving this. I'm visiting New York City in November/December, and this is making me excited. Hey, Luke, awesome, dude. We're happy to have you in New York. Can't wait. Well, you got a little bit of time, right? November, December, it's about a year away, or a little over a year, or a little under a year away. But I think you're going to enjoy it. So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Hey, Ryan Beck says, I think UBS was offering on Credit Suisse. Ah, you're right. You're correct. Credit Suisse, not First Republic. I'm mixing up my collapsed banks here. There's so many banks that are about to go under, I can't even get my name straight. Isn't that a sad moment in time when we're like, oh no, that's the other failing bank. Oh, that's the other bank that's going to cause a huge depression. Not that one. That's hilarious. Sign of the times. Take a listen to the fountain here. Beautiful. Yeah, Hamza, you're right. Hey, Dan Hooper says, hey from Texas, hope to see you soon, maybe in May. Love that. May is the best month of the year. Okay, I'll give you guys a quick recommendation. If you want a really, really good steakhouse, go here, Del Frisco's. Now, when I used to work in this building right here, this is the Marsh McLennan building. I used to work right here many moons ago. Well, not many moons ago, a couple of years ago. I used to take a lot of clients here to Del Frisco's. Very good steakhouse. The atmosphere is really, really nice. And here's something even better. I'll one-up that. Hold on, let me try to circumnavigate the traffic here. You know, they actually totally remodeled the public space, and I think they just opened it up just after the holidays. So everything you see here, everybody, is totally brand new. This did not used to look like this before. So you can enjoy a really nice steak here at Del Frisco's. Really good. Closed a lot of deals in this building here. And look at how gorgeous the city made this. This is such a nice public space. They extended it, really, really big extension here. You have your elevator here, which could actually take you to the subway. You can get the BD train here. I think they did a really, really good job. And you could see a little bit of the Empire State Building too. So once again, this is all brand new. They just opened this during the holidays. You have your subway entrance like we talked about. You can get the B, D, F, and M trains. And then obviously you have your handicap entrance here with the elevator. But they made this really nice, guys. Everything's brand new. Great views of Radio City Music Hall. Yeah, Adele's famous. So this is by far my favorite halal food in the world. There's none like it. But here's the downside. Look at how long the line is. Now, we've talked about this before. Hold on, let me give you guys another view over here. Ooh, it smells so good, man. Now, this is by far the best halal food in the city. You can't even compare it. I'm a huge fan of halal food, love it. I try to limit it though, but it is really, really good. But guys, this line, and I'm not joking about this, by the way. This is probably over a 2-hour line. Maybe even going into 3 hours. It goes all the way to the corner there. I'll just do a quick sweeping view of the line. Look at that. That's insane. Hey, Paul Medis, good to see you. Hey, Hawaii, this is Tom. I was in that line last December, and you were streaming nearby. No way. Oh, yeah. Usually here we buffer during the winter because you obviously have the major Christmas tree. But Hawaii, how long did you wait? How long was the line? Like an hour? If it was during the holidays, I'd assume you probably waited about an hour, right? All right, let me fix my chat. Hey, George Hernandez says, hey, Tom, haven't been in the stream for a while. Hope you and everybody in the chat are doing well. Oh, you're in Miami now. Very cool. Love that. It's good to see you again, too. Hopefully you're well and enjoying your weekend after the crazy week we had. We're about to embark on another crazy week. The LT Prod. Good to see you. Now, did anybody hear additional, real quick before I go on to that. Speaking of banking collapses, does anybody want to take a guess? We'll do some Walks on Wall Street trivia here. I've hammered this into your guys' head so much. Does anybody know what this Barclays investment bank used to be? Very on the nose for the times here. I'll give you a hint, major banking collapse. Let's try to walk to the end of the block so you guys can get a better view. Yeah, Tommy G's sidewalks looks pretty clean tonight. It's all right. I think it can still use some improvement here in New York. Photos from around New York says Bear Stearns. No, it was not Bear Stearns. 45, you got it. Lehman Brothers, you're correct. Guys, this used to be Lehman Brothers. Before it was Barclays, it was taken over by Barclays Investment Bank, which is actually a British bank. Now, if you've ever watched any documentaries about the great 2008 financial crisis, chances are it'll have video and even some photographs of bankers walking out of a building with, cardboard boxes in their hands. All of that video is taken right here. I'll try to cross the street so you can get a better view of it. But Lehman Brothers collapsed in September. And Times Square is really packed. This is West 49th Street. Man, Times Square is packed tonight. So here you have it. This is the old Lehman Brothers, but it is now Barclays Investment Bank. Michael Joseph's The Too Big to Fail documentary had that footage in there. I'm sure it did, for sure. Yeah, 45 says if I was working for Barclays in that building, I'd find this area very distracting for work. I probably would too. Now, there's also other big Wall Street mega banks in Times Square, such as Morgan Stanley. I'll take you guys there right now, actually, might as well. On the right here is the Junior's Cheesecake. Real quick, anybody know what the outcome of the Penn State basketball game was? I'm sure it's over now. So as we turn the corner here, you'll be able to see Morgan Stanley right here. Another big investment bank. Room Z. This is Penn State lost. Copy that. If you look all the way in the distance, you'll actually be able to see where they dropped the ball on New Year's. Penn State 66, Texas Longhorns 71. Hey, Old Tape Archives, good to see you. Hey, Boone Lancaster says Credit Suisse was a fortress in the financial business. It's kind of disturbing. Well, Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank have always been two really horrible banks, especially after the financial crisis. Yeah, Michael Joseph says NCAA 2 big underdog upsets. Well, I watched the Kansas game, some of the Kansas Arkansas. I think Kansas was a #1 seed and Arkansas was an 8 seed. So that was a pretty big upset, and Kansas won the whole thing last year. So, all right, I'll try to get you guys as close as possible. Yeah, Austin City Limits, I was watching some of that. That was a really exciting game, and I'm not a big basketball fan, but that was one of the most exciting games I've ever seen. Here's some perspective of the traffic. Now, we got the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment report out yesterday. Consumer sentiment declined, fell off of a cliff, but it seems like consumer sentiment is pretty alive and well here in New York's Times Square. tons of people in the city. This place is mobbed. Hawaii, this is college football and college basketball, very exciting. Well, here's some good news for New York. We actually had a New York college team win the soccer national championships. So that's cool. Syracuse University are national champions this year, or I should say last year. So big shout out to the Orange. Syracuse Orangemen, as they're called. I don't think the basketball team qualified for the NCAA tournament, though. I think the coach, Jim Boeheim, has over 1,000 wins. But if you guys have been enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams about 7 days a week between New York City and Miami. You know, this is a new development that you see right here. I think this is going to be a hotel and residences. This didn't used to be here. This is going to be brand new. This scaffolding has been up there for years. I can't wait till the scaffolding is taken down. All right, let's cross. It's Saturday, so I'm feeling good on this Saturday. I have the mental fortitude to withstand Times Square for you guys tonight. A lot of people. Now, fun fact, I actually used to work over there to the left. Way back in the day when I was a kid. You see that building right there? It says Express on it. I used to work right in there. I used to stock the shelves. It was horrible. Now, the shift that I used to work was 9 o'clock at night to 3 o'clock in the morning. And I did that during college to make a few extra bucks. And then I would wake up the next day and go to class at 8 a.m. But yeah, I used to work right here. However, during New Year's, I got a front row seat to the ball drop.
Take a picture.
I mean, Times Square is nice. I just always get a bad feeling walking around here for whatever reason. Check out the traffic down there. I can't believe how packed Times Square is tonight. With everything that's going on in the world, I mean, wow. The consumer is really resilient. It's actually really good to see. These are the original, very famous red steps. You could buy tickets to Broadway shows on the other side. All right, let's get out of here. It was nice looking at it, but I think now it's time to head out. Yeah, you're right. Pent-up demand, possibly the LT Prod. You know, we'll walk up this way because I think the light's going to be like a 5-minute light. You know what? I am close to the train, so I think it's going to be very convenient for me to skedaddle out of here. So I think I may cut you guys loose. I think we had a really good stream tonight. It was a lot of fun. I thank all of you for coming out. And I really, really do hope you guys have a very restful and enjoyable rest of your weekend. We'll be right back here live tomorrow, starting at 8:30. So we will start the live stream tomorrow at 8:30. It is Sunday, so that means we are going to be doing our Markets Outlook live stream, where we're going to be talking about all of the major events coming up next week on Wall Street. There's not going to be a shortage of action next week. So make sure you stay tuned in right here at Walks and Wall Street. So the LT Prod, thank you so much. Rat Fink, I appreciate everything. Gary Carpenter, Nina, thank you so much. Sunshine After Rain, Ryan Beck. Have a good one, my friend. Meld, Russ Lowers, Lena Sandoval, Hawaii, thank you so much for being here. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, share the show with your friends. And to the Mighty Bull, have a good night wherever you are, because there's always a bull market somewhere and you just need to know where to look. Brick Stonewall, John Abraham, Julia M., enjoy your Saturday night. Be safe out there, guys, if you're still partying and enjoying your St. Patrick's Day weekend. I want you guys to be safe and sound. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Hey, Luke, thanks for joining. I know you're new here, so we really appreciate you being here and looking forward to your visit to New York. So we'll see you guys later. Take care.